Game week 13 is here, and as you guys know, a lot of people are going to be playing their free hit. So let's have a look at how a potential free hit team would look like for this week. But before we get started, make sure you guys like this video, because liking this video helps this channel out massively to reach new audiences. So that's obviously great for us on FPL Hive. But anyway, I think the first, let's say, question a lot of people are going to have is, Baines, are you on free hit 13? Right now, I am 45% on free hit 13. 55% on free hit 15. Like I said in my previous transfer plan video, I was really looking at free hit 13 versus 15, and I was leaning towards 15, and I think I'm still on that side of things. But I think that debate, I'll probably explain a bit more in my team selection video coming out on Thursday or Friday, just because, listen, I'm still toying around with the idea of potentially free hitting this week. I'm still not 100% sure. Like I said, there's still a lot of benefits to 15. There's obviously a lot of benefits to 30. Of course, some people are going to go in game week 16. All viable strategies. But anyway, let's talk about this team. And I've gone with double City defense, which first of all is going to create a debate, I'm going to guess, because a lot of people are potentially looking at one City midfielder. The reason why I've gone with this route is, first of all, I think no matter what, everyone's going to have at least one City defender. A lot of people are going to go with Nico O'Reilly. I've also gone with Donnarumma. And listen, he's not going to, let's say, get save points. He's not going to be a big haul, but it's for clean sheet potential. The reason why I'm going with Donnarumma here is, I'm looking at the three City midfielders. Cherki, Foden, Doku. They obviously have a midweek Champions League game. So, listen, we might understand their minutes a bit better after that game is finished, going into the games on the weekend. But when you look at Manchester City, all their team is catered towards Erling Haaland. And listen, rightly so, because he's the best goal scorer arguably the Premier League's ever seen. So we've seen so far, Phil Foden's goal threat from the numbers hasn't been great. Neither has Doku's, neither has Cherki's. They're all good creative players, let's say. And we know midfielders get more points for goals than assists. So could there be other midfielders that could potentially score? The answer to that question is yes, that I might want to pick. But when you're talking about defensively, do City probably have the best chance out of any single side this week to keep a clean sheet? I think the answer to that question is yes. So there might be a bit of safety involved going with Donnarumma over, let's say, a Foden, Doku, Cherki. But I'm happy to play that way. I've also gone with Nico O'Reilly. Like I said, I've been very, very impressed with Nico O'Reilly from an offensive point of view. The way he times his runs when he bursts forward, I think has been very, very impressive. So he's still staying in my team. Then the Brentford defender. Of course, this is also another hot topic. A lot of people are going to go with a Collins, a Van der Berg. The reason I've gone with Coyote is Burnley this season has been a fixture which hasn't been, let's say, a high DEFCON fixture for centre backs. Even the other week when Gabriel got it against Burnley, that Gabriel was the second defender to hit DEFCON against Burnley. It's not something that's very, very common, which is why Collins, Van der Berg, I'm kind of favouring them less. If we're looking at underlying numbers so far this season as well, from the last 6 games, Coyote is third in terms of non-penalty XGI from players from Brentford. Of course, we know Coyote has a brilliant throw, and this is where I think Coyote's throws potentially differentiate from other, let's say, long throws. In terms of Coyote gets incredible high direction flight on his deliveries kind of thing from from throws, which means the chances that, let's say, he gets a direct assist and then someone heads it into the goal are probably a lot higher than a lot of people in terms of, for example, when you're looking at, let's say, a Chris Richards throw from Crystal Palace. His throw is pretty much targeted in terms of someone getting a flick on. So Chris Richards is probably not as likely to get the assist. Whereas with Coyote's throws, the chances of him getting an assist are a lot higher. Listen, like I said, it's probably a close call. A lot of people are going to go with Van der Berg. A lot of people are going to go with Collins. I see the benefit from all three of them. But I've gone with the more attacking option in Coyote. Then I've gone with Matty Cash from Aston Villa. And now this is another fixture, Aston Villa versus Wolves, where you probably want some sort of Aston Villa coverage in terms of Wolves are poor. They didn't look any better in Rob Edwards' first game. But then the problem is Aston Villa are a weird sort of side where none of the defenders necessarily stand out in terms of Konza, for example. Is Konza or any other centre-back from Aston Villa a DEFCON monster? The answer to that question is no. So then you're pretty much going back on who's most likely to get an attacking return. And so far, Matty Cash has proved, he's got it twice, that he can potentially do that, which is why he's that Aston Villa coverage defensively. And now the last player I've gone with is Munoz. And now this is a position I was debating quite a lot in terms of potentially going to a 3-5-2, or 4-4-2, which defender to pick. And I'm going back on Munoz over Van Dijk, for example. The reason why I've gone with Daniel Munoz is, first of all, Manchester United, no matter how much, let's say, the results show they're improving in terms of course, they lost against Everton, but before that, they were unbeaten in 5. Manchester United, when I watch them, still do not look great. Munoz is not a defender. He's pretty much an attacker with the positions that he picks up. And we've seen United, defensively, they're still, let's say, relatively open, especially once Casemiro comes up. United almost collapsed defensively. And even yesterday, Manchester United, they were playing up against 10 men. Everton still were getting out very, very easily. So that's why I've gone with Munoz. The attacking potential is there. And like I said, this is where free hit is very, very difficult this season. A lot of us have Palace defenders, or a lot of us have Palace midfielders. Palace could easily do damage against Manchester United. So there has to be an element where you're almost reducing the risk of your normal team outscoring a free hit team. And I think having Daniel Munoz does that to an extent, in terms of you're probably not going to have Salah or Mateta on a free hit. Going with a Palace defender on paper, Munoz, might just be a good way to kind of cover that Palace attacking coverage to an extent. Doesn't do it completely, but to some extent, Munoz does cover that. So that's why I've gone with him. Let's have a look at the midfield. Now with the midfield, a lot of people are probably going to have some sort of variation of this midfield in terms of having Mo Salah. You're probably free hitting to get in Salah for this fixture against West Ham. Is it the best fixture on paper? No, but is it one of the better fixtures that you can get? Yes. West Ham at home haven't been great so far this season. But I would say this, Nuno has shown defensively that, or let's say, not defensively, let's just say Nuno has shown he can get results at West Ham. He's been doing that recently. Plus, this is where Nuno probably differentiates from other managers in that lower half of the table, where Nuno has a track record of setting up his teams to be defensively very, very solid. But at the same time with Liverpool, I said this the other day, Liverpool are very, very bad right now in terms of the results. But I also do think there's a slight unfortunate side to them in terms of, it seems that every single time the opposition are going forward, they're scoring. Every single time Liverpool are going forward, they're not. And if you watch the Liverpool-Nottingham Forest game the other day, the first 30 minutes, Liverpool competed relatively well. They had chances, but nothing really went in. Kirkis, McAllister, Salah, they had a couple half chances. Nothing was going in. So that's something that on a free hit, you're pretty much targeting. And this is where free hit this week is very difficult in terms of form versus fixture. Because I think a lot of this free hit team is probably based on the fixture. But listen, we know the damage that Salah can do in the past. We have seen a slight upturn in terms of Salah's underlying numbers in recent weeks. So let's see what he could do on a free hit against West Ham. Is a great fixture. The next person is Sharda against the Burnley. Now, this is going to be another debate in terms of Sharda versus Dango Tara. I've gone with Sharda just because I think he's probably guaranteed longer minutes, if that makes sense. Both of them are probably going to start. Sharda is going to start. Dango Tara is going to start. Both of them have relatively good goal threat. But Sharda will probably be on the pitch for at least 85 minutes. Can the same thing be said about Dango Tara? Probably not, which is why I've gone with Sharda from Brentford. Next person is Cody Gakpo. Now, this is also very, very interesting in terms of doubling up on, let's say, the Liverpool attack. I have thought about Ekitiko Isak in this team. And I currently made this draft looking at my budget. I was 0.9 million. I had 0.9 million in the back. And of course, Champions League is going to be massive. For example, if we see reduced minutes for Isak or Ekitike, that could be a nice punt that people might want to take. But again, like we said before, Liverpool attack is not clicking right now. And then the other man that I've gone with is Morgan Rogers. I think, like I said before, this is a great fixture, Wolves at home. If we're looking at Rogers' underlying numbers, by the way, are just not great. But at the same time, his minutes are always good for Aston Villa. We did see him take a set piece the other day, scoring from a set piece the other day against, who did Aston Villa play? Leeds it was. And listen, you can probably argue the Leeds keeper should have done better with the free kick that Rogers scored. But at the same time, Rogers still was still there. Rogers still scored. Rogers got 2 goals against Leeds. So he's coming off some decent form. So hopefully he could do more damage against Wolves. And now the front two is pretty simple, really. You're going to have Erling Haaland against Leeds at home. You're going to captain him. He's probably going to score realistically. He's Erling Haaland. Don't really have to say much. The next person is Thiago. And again, this is pretty much a lock-in on a free hit in terms of Burnley, one of the worst defenses. Thiago, it seems like he's getting a penalty, or Brentford are getting a penalty every other game. It is crazy right now. Second top scorer in the Premier League. He's going to be in. The bench, Elliot Anderson, Dubravka, and Zabi Markoui, doesn't really matter. Just make sure you have at least 1 or 2 playing plays just in case any of these players miss out. But let me just quickly talk about free hit 13 versus free hit 15, because obviously that's going to be a topic that I have for my team. The reason a lot of people are free hitting in game week 13, let's say, is in terms of there are a couple difficult fixture clashes. For example, Arsenal-Chelsea is a fixture that a lot of people are probably invested in and don't necessarily know which way. We'll probably say Arsenal will win that game, but again, it's not going to be a high scoring game sort of thing in terms of it is very, very close to a game that's close to call. But the reason why I'm leaning towards game week 15 is one of the main reasons we are free hitting this week is obviously to get in Liverpool assets. Salah, Gakpo, for example, Van Dijk, Isak, Ekitike, whoever it may be. Liverpool are not in good form. So again, that is something we have to take into consideration when we're picking Liverpool players. Game week 15, Liverpool also have Leeds. Now, that's also a away fixture. Leeds or West Ham, who's worse? Listen, they're both bad. Let's say that let's just keep it at that denominator. Why would I wait until game week 15? Is there a chance that Liverpool win this West Ham game, win that next game, which is Sunderland, I believe, then going into that Leeds game, have a bit more confidence about them, a bit more swagger about them, a bit more of the old Liverpool, let's say? There is a potential chance. So then, am I more confident in game week 15 bringing in the likes of Salah, Gakpo, Isak, Ekitike, Van Dijk, whoever it may be, on a free hit? The answer to that question is yes. Also, that week, Arsenal have Aston Villa. Me personally, I have a couple Arsenal players, the likes of Saka, Timber. I might have one more by that point. That's a very, very difficult fixture. First of all, that is the 12:30 kickoff, early kickoff on a Saturday. Secondly, Aston Villa and Unai Emery have a decent record against Arteta in recent years. It has been a very, very difficult place to go, Villa Park, naturally. And listen, Villa are currently 4th in the Premier League. They started the season really, really bad, but I think the last 10 games, they won 8 in all competitions. They have picked up some form. Also that week, Chelsea at Bournemouth. I have Senesi, Semenyo, Enzo right now. That's a fixture that I think is difficult to call. That week also, similar to this week, Manchester City have a good fixture. Sunderland at home. Could I then have still, for example, a Nico Riley, Donnarumma, Haaland that week? 100%. Also that week, Newcastle have Burnley at home. We know Newcastle are better at home. We also know Newcastle so far haven't fully cleared. So by that point, maybe they built on from the Manchester City victory the other day. Maybe Walter is a better FPL asset. Pope, Gordon, potentially Barnes, whoever it may be. There might be a couple interesting Newcastle attackers that we might want to pick, which is why I'm leaning towards game week 15 for now. But like I said before, game week 13 free hit is still a very, very big possibility for me. And listen, make sure you guys like this video, because this week from this channel, it should be very interesting. I might play my free hit. I think Tyrone might be playing his wild card this week. So listen, a couple of very, very interesting videos to keep an eye out for. Make sure you guys like the video, comment your thoughts on this free hit, and subscribe to the channel. And we will be back soon.